In this lecture on metabolism, we will gain an insight on the overview of metabolism. Also, we will talk about compartmentalization of metabolic processes in a cell. Metabolism comprises all chemical reactions that occur within living organisms. It is a sum total of all the chemical reactions that occur in a cell. The processes that involve degradation of compounds correspond to catabolism, and those leading to synthesis of new molecules correspond to anabolism. So, metabolism can be categorized into two broad processes. Processes that break down complex molecules or macromolecules into simpler ones. These are referred to as the catabolic processes or catabolism, and the opposite of this, the process of making up macromolecules from smaller compounds, is known as anabolism. Catabolism has an oxidative nature and uses coenzymes like NAD positive as an electron acceptor. As I just mentioned, catabolic processes are the ones that lead to the degradation of macromolecules. So such reactions are oxidative in nature and they require coenzymes. We'll talk more about coenzymes in a later lecture. So these processes, the catabolic processes, are exergonic. That means they liberate energy and involve the transfer of phosphate to ADP for the synthesis of ATP. Likewise, anabolism involves endergonic processes. These processes require energy to proceed in the forward direction. These require energy for converting the reactants to products. These use energy in the form of ATP. Also, these require reducing equivalents such as NADPH and proton or hydrogen ion. In a normal adult, both catabolism and anabolism are occurring at an equilibrium. The rate of catabolic processes is equal to or similar to the rate of anabolic processes in a healthy individual. Now, catabolism can be categorized or divided into different stages. In all, there are three stages of catabolism. In the first stage of catabolism, digestion and hydrolysis of macromolecules to monomer units occurs. So whenever we consume food, that food contains macromolecules like carbohydrates, proteins and fats. In stage 1 of catabolism, these macromolecules are broken down into their individual monomer units. For carbohydrates, they are broken down into simple sugars. Fats are broken down into fatty acids and glycerol, and proteins are broken down into amino acids. In the second stage, these monomer units are further broken down through different reaction pathways to liberate even smaller molecules. These processes ultimately result in the production of ATP. We'll talk about one of such reactions and processes when we talk about glycolysis and citric acid cycle in later lectures. Also, in stage 2, the monomer units are further broken down through different reaction pathways, one of which produces ATP, and also to form common end product that can then be utilized in the third stage, in the next stage, to produce even more ATP. In the final stage, complete oxidation of acetyl CoA and the production of ATP occurs. Now this acetyl CoA was produced at the end of stage 2. We'll talk more about this when we discuss in our further lectures on glycolysis and citric acid cycle and electron transport system. The next important point to consider is the compartmentalization of metabolic processes. As we have seen so far, catabolism and anabolism, which together constitute metabolism, are two opposite reactions or processes. Catabolism breaks down, anabolism builds up. Now consider or imagine a situation when these two processes are occurring together in a cell. If they are not properly compartmentalized or separated, it will result in an half-ox situation in the cell. which is not good for the survival of the cell itself. Also, there are many interconnections between the main metabolic pathways, as we'll see when we talk more about glycolysis, citric acid cycle, electron transport chain, fatty acid degradation, beta oxidation of fatty acids, metabolism of amino acids. We'll see that there are many interconnections between these metabolic pathways. Many substrates and regulatory molecules and enzymes are common to several pathways. Again, the same enzyme may be required in one pathway while it has some other function in the other pathway. Also, certain substrates in one pathway may also be required in the other. Now again, imagine a situation if all the reactions are occurring together in the cell in the same medium, how will the substrates be channelized to the different metabolic processes? Now, in an eukaryotic cell, in order for it to function properly, the intracellular space is divided into subcellular compartments, each of which harbors specific metabolic activities. For example, in the cytosol, we have the processes like glycolysis, fatty acid synthesis, pentose phosphate pathway. In mitochondria, we have the citric acid cycle, oxidative phosphorylation, electron transport system, and so on. Now, metabolic pathways are spatially and temporally compartmentalized, which facilitates cellular function and is essential for the cell survival. Let's talk something more about importance of compartmentalization. Now, all the reactions occurring in cells take place in certain space. We call them as compartments, or in other terms, we refer to them as the cellular organelles. Now, these compartments are separated from the other compartments by means of semi-permeable membranes. This prevents the mixing of metabolites and optimizes the course of chemical reactions. Also, the enzymes that are involved. Now, the enzymes catalyzing the individual reactions often have different temperature and pH optimums. Not all the enzymes will function optimally at all the temperatures and all the pH. We have done an experiment related to this in your third semester as well. Now, enzymes catalyzing individual reactions often have different temperatures and pH optimums, and if there was only one cellular compartment, some of the enzymes would probably not function at all, and the reactions catalyzed would not be sufficiently efficient, because within the same compartment you cannot provide optimal conditions to the individual enzymes. So by dividing the cellular space into small compartments, optimal conditions for individual enzymatically catalyzed reactions can be created. Also, compartmentalization protects the cell against the activity of its lytic enzymes. If you can recall the example of lysosomes. In lysosomes, we have the cellular digestion enzymes. These are hydrolytic enzymes which break down other organelles. So, sealing of the enzymes for cellular digestion in lysosomes prevents unwanted autodigestion of other organelles within the cell. So, it prevents the cell from collapsing, digesting itself and collapsing. A common process that accompanies the disruption of some of the compartments, like necrosis or apoptosis. If these terms are new to you, not to worry, we'll discuss again at appropriate occasion. Compartmentalization also affects the regulation of metabolic pathways, making them more accurate and targeted and less interfering with each other. Now, when each of the metabolic processes are occurring at specific locations in compartments, the regulation becomes easy. We'll know more about regulation of metabolic pathways in a later lecture. So, despite its advantages, compartmentalization at the same time has a certain drawback, and that is it requires energy. There are ATP dependent transporters which are frequently involved in the transportation of metabolites and other substances across the semi-permeable membrane, and most often this is against the concentration gradient. So this involves active transport which requires energy from ATP. Here we have some examples of compartmentalization of metabolic pathways. As I mentioned at an earlier occasion during the lecture, In cytosol, metabolism of saccharides or sugars is compartmentalized. So here we have processes like glycolysis, certain part of gluconeogenesis, glycogenolysis, and synthesis of glycogen and pentose phosphate pathway. Likewise, metabolism of fatty acids, which involves fatty acid synthesis, is also localized in cytosol. Metabolism of amino acids, synthesis of non-essential amino acids, and some of the transamination reactions are compartmentalized in the cytosol. Certain other pathways like the synthesis of heme, which is required for blood, and urea synthesis pathway, and metabolism of purines and pyrimidines, which are nitrogenous bases, again occurs in the cytosol. Here is a list of certain metabolic processes that occur in the mitochondria. The pyruvate dehydrogenase reactions, part of gluconeogenesis, which involves conversion of pyruvate to oxaloacetate. So these reactions occur in the mitochondria. This is a part that occurs in the mitochondria. Beta oxidation of fatty acids and degradation of ketone bodies again occurs in the mitochondria. Oxidative deamination of amino acids and certain transamination reactions occur in mitochondria. The Krebs cycle, electron transport chain, oxidative phosphorylation, and certain reactions of heme and urea synthesis pathways are again compartmentalized into the mitochondria. With that, we come to the end of our lecture on overview of metabolism and compartmentalization of metabolic processes. Here we have a list of certain activities that you can perform for additional learning. Go through the books available with you and resources available online to understand more about metabolism with certain examples. Compare and contrast anabolism and catabolism. Find examples of anabolism and catabolism. List the advantages and disadvantages of compartmentalization of metabolic processes. For your additional learning, you may refer to the books which are listed here, and for any queries you can post them in the comments. Happy learning.